So the Cruel Jewel 100 did not go my way this year. And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed, but ultimately, I think I made the right call dropping at mile 71. Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know this is not a woe is me DNF post. Quite the contrary. I have loads of course footage. I use this Insta360 camera that I just got, and the footage I got is amazing. So if you stay for anything, stay for a preview of some of this footage before my full race video, because I'm blown away by the scenes I could capture. More importantly than that, I want to talk about the 71 miles I did this weekend and just go over the race in general. This is going to be like a usual race recap. I'm going to go into how the race was, the aid stations, the sections. I'm going to be talking about my struggles, but I am going to be saving a section later on for my mistakes and for the things that I did wrong. And these aren't excuses. I'm going to present this section in a way that it kind of teaches a lesson. And I hate videos where it's like, hey, lessons learned, drink more water, eat more food. Those don't help me at all. I'm sure they don't help you. Sometimes when you're out on a course and you're throwing up and you can't put down more water or food, just getting a tip of, hey, just eat or drink more, that doesn't work. So I'm going to phrase these lessons I learned, these mistakes I made, as teaching moments for you to take into the Cruel Jewel 2025, or hell, for any race that you do, because I have a lot of things that I did wrong leading up to the race, during the race, and I looked back on it, I thought about it, and I could have done things way better going into this race and set myself up for a way better chance of victory. So as mentioned, we're going to start with the race recap, and this race started at Camp Morganton, and the atmosphere was absolutely electrical. It was incredible. There was so much energy in the air. Everyone was so excited, and we started off running, and I realized that it was hot as hell. It was probably like 70, but it was so muggy, it was so humid that within the first like 5-10 minutes, I was already drenched in sweat. I'd worn a long sleeve shirt that I rolled the sleeves up. Forecast was supposed to be like 60 to 70 during the day with some rainfall. I was like, perfect, it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be drizzling. I love this kind of weather. And it was like 70 and muggy and hot, and when the rain did come, it was like hot rain, and it just made that steam rise. So within the first few miles, I was already like, okay, not like going according to plan, but figured, hey, I can deal with the heat. So the first few miles, I was trying to keep that confidence, but I was actually starting to worry a little bit. My breathing, I couldn't really control it. My heart rate was like shooting up and down. It was kind of weird, but sometimes it just takes 10, 15, 20 miles to get your stride. And once we hit the first trail section, this is where it started to cool down a little bit. There was a little bit of a breeze, and I didn't even take the poles out. I was running way harder than I should have, and I was having a good time. Not too good a time, as I'll mention. I was pretty miserable the whole race. Honestly, I was miserable probably 99% of the race. There was like 1 or 2 moments where I kind of like uplifted my spirits, but I pretty much spent the entire 26 or 27 hours not wanting to be there at all, which is also, a factor into finishing the race or not. But after these first 6 miles, that's where the wheels started to come off. I didn't want to drink as much. I didn't want to eat as much. I was just feeling kind of a general sense of unwell. It wasn't nauseous. It wasn't fatigue. I just my body didn't want to be out there. And I struggled for, probably like mile 6 to 20. I'd slow down. I would look around the mountains and I would just feel like nothing. Usually when I'm out in the mountains, it's like I'm just in awe to be there. And even if I'm hurt and if I'm tired, I can just look around and be like, man, like look where I'm at. And that was not coming. And so finally at I'd say mile 20 is when I wanted to quit for the first time. I was thinking about quitting at mile 20 and just going, you know what? Go back to the hotel, have a nice weekend in Blue Ridge, and just enjoy yourself. But I was like, no. I came here to run a race. I need to get that buckle. I need to get this footage on camera. And that was kind of what motivated me and drove me on, was not wanting to be there, but wanting to finish, wanting to capture the whole video for you guys. That's honestly probably why I stuck in till at least mile 71, was that I didn't want an incomplete video. And sometimes you run a race and you do it for certain reasons, and Some reasons are more valid than others. You may have multiple reasons, and usually making these videos, making these recaps, that's a really, really big motivator. But unfortunately, that was one of the biggest motivators that I was hanging on to. Not necessarily finishing this race for me personally, but I wanted to be able to capture that race in all its glory like it should have been captured. So anyway, back to the recap. The aid stations, the first few aid stations we hit, amazing. I mean, the Cruel Jewel, I talked to the race director after the race about this. What makes this race amazing isn't the course, it's the volunteers, it's the crew, it's the aid station stops. Each of these aid stations, everyone was in good spirits. They were happy to see you. They were helping you. I would sit down at some and I'd have people rushing up. Hey, what can I do? Marty Gardner was there. He rushed up, and after Jamie Saunders, he was crewing her. She went through, and he was like, "Oh, can I get you anything?" So the people really make this truly amazing, and that's apparent, I hope, from the videos of just seeing everyone bustling around, running around. Aid stations fully stocked, everything you could ever want. During the afternoon, there was hot foods, there were soups. It was incredible. Back to me. After mile 20, probably mile 20 to 30, it was just move forward, keep moving, get some running in, get some walking in, keep pressing. But then once nighttime fell, that was when I was gonna turn it on, get some miles. It was gonna cool down, and it did not. It stayed hot that whole night. There was pockets of cool air that I would hit, and it would feel so good for like 1 or 2 minutes, and everything else was hot, muggy. I don't think I got any footage of it because it was dark, and the footage would have looked like shit anyway. But with my headlamp on, you could probably only see about 10 yards in front of you, maybe less. It was so foggy and muggy that the headlamp was just kind of dispersing out in that fog, and it has actually made me kind of nauseous, giving me a headache. So between the heat, between not being able to see straight, and between just not being able to get good hydration and nutrition, I was just feeling sick. And by like mile 38 is the first time I threw up, and then I threw up again not too long afterwards. And the whole night was pretty much spent trying to survive. I was hurting, I was tired. I tried to make a couple little update videos, but honestly, I was like, I just need to get point to point, aid station by aid station, because this is going off the rails. This is not how I planned. It was around nighttime too when I realized that not only was I not going to hit my goals, my A, B, C goal, I may be looking at 40, 44, possibly like chasing cutoffs for that 4 to 8 hours. And mentally that was a little taxing. Not going to lie, that was a big motivator for wanting to drop out at the mile 44-ish aid station. One of the runners that I knew, she was dropping out and her crew was coming to actually pick her up. And I was sitting there, it was 44, maybe it was 46, I'll correct that later. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm not even halfway. And I'm like, what? At least get to the turnaround point, see the whole course. Once you see the whole course, get to the halfway point, the sun's gonna come up and it may just do me wonders. And so I'm sitting there and I had already resigned myself to quitting, and they said the crew, it's gonna take like a 30, 45 minutes for the crew to get up there. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna push on. We had just got done with Duncan Ridge, which was an incredibly tough trail section, and we had Coosa left. And I was like, I didn't come here not to do Duncan Ridge and Coosa. Those are the two big, hardest parts of the course. I at least need to get over them once. And so I pressed on, got to the top of Coosa, and that felt really good. Just that it was a really steep climb up the one side, and the other side is more of a less steep but very long 4 miles. As I was going down over Coosa downhill, I was in my head, I was like, this is going to be such a pain in the ass to climb back up, but hey, we're getting halfway at least. So I get to the halfway point, and that aid station is incredible. That's probably my favorite aid station, just because they had some lights on, they had all the drop bags. It was just very easy to collect myself and eat some soup, try to get some hydration. And I was like, okay, halfway point, definitely. I was hoping to get to the halfway point before sunrise, but plan was out the window. We're just moving on one step at a time. So I get to the halfway point, I turn around, punch my bib, the sun's up, and damn, I am feeling good. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, sun's up. This is a new me, new day. 44 hours, who gives a shit? We're doing the Cruel Jewel. And I took that all the way to the turnaround aid station, packed some stuff up, sat for a second, and just mentally prepped myself. I knew that I was definitely going to climb up Coosa and get over Duncan Ridge one more time. And that was a big goal of mine, was to not only do it once, but say that I did Coosa and Duncan back to back all at one time. And it really meant a lot to me to press on and do that, because I know a lot of runners that quit before mile 50, that quit sooner, and they don't get to experience like the toughest part of the course. And I wanted to say that, man, win, lose, or draw, I hit the toughest part of the course twice. Let's fucking do this. So going up Coosa, I'm moving like a bat out of hell. For someone that, is physically not feeling great, and it's just, I wasn't moving that fast. Let's just say that. Bat out of hell is probably a vast exaggeration, but I passed a few runners. They're like, whoa, where'd you come from? Rise from the dead. And I'm just like, I'm here to get this done. And so I'm pressing up Coosa. It felt like, it actually didn't feel that long. I was gonna say it felt like forever. It didn't actually feel that long. It was pretty quick for the 4 miles pretty much straight up that we had to do. And I got to the top of Coosa. I looked around, got some incredible video, and I was like, man, we're doing this. Like, we're almost through the hardest part of the course. There's only about 10 more miles left of the hardest part, and then it's easy. It's easy after that. And something I want to go back and say up until this point, and still for the next few miles, physically, I was feeling like a stud. My back felt good, my quads felt good, hamstrings, calves, feet. My feet were pristine. My feet looked so good. It didn't even look like I'd run 10 miles. And my back usually is in terrible pain during these mountain races. Like, just tight, pulling, hamstrings are hurting. And physically, I was like, man, I have this. Like, I'm having this general sense of unwell, of this just feeling kind of sick. But physically, like, there's no reason I can't finish this thing. It's all mental at this point. And that motivated me. That motivated me so much that when I got to mile 58, I called my wife and I said, listen, I know I got the hotel till I check out's on Sunday. I got to go back to work on Monday. We're going to have to extend that. I'm going to give you a call later in the day and tell you, hey, extend that hotel till Monday. I'm doing this thing. 48 hours or not, I'm doing it. And that was probably one of the happiest I've been. I accepted that I can do this. It's going to suck, but mentally I was there. Physically, things were going, as best as I could hope for that individual moment. And I was ready to just keep pressing on, knocking this thing out. So listen, we said at mile 58, called my wife and said, hey, we're doing this thing. At mile 60 is when I had the worst pain I've ever felt hit my quads. It wasn't like something that kind of came on over a long period of time. I was just going downhill. Probably, I don't even think I was going downhill that fast. And all of a sudden, both quads just started, man, what the hell was that? Like, it felt like there was knives being stabbed into my quads. And I stopped and I sat down, I rubbed them, and I go, that was kind of weird. Like, I haven't felt that the whole day. Here I was just, talking about how I was bragging to everyone how, yeah, I feel like shit, I'm going slow, but man, my body's strong. And 60, quads gave out. I can't put it any more plain and simple than that. It was sudden, almost instantaneous, and both at the same time. Both had the same exact pain. One wasn't hurting more than the other. It was both at the same time. I'm kind of droning on about this part, but it was such a shock to me that I kept pushing on. I kept stopping, resting, rubbing my legs, and the pain wasn't going away. And I'm not going to exaggerate right now. The 4 miles, getting to mile 64 aid station, worst pain I've ever been in, hardest thing I've ever had to do. I had just done Lollipop 240 6 weeks prior, and I thought the last 4 miles of the Lollipop was the absolute hardest thing that I've ever done. This is not going to be topped for a very long time. And here I am 6 weeks later on Duncan Ridge, 4 miles aid station behind me, 4 miles aid station in front of me, and I'm starting to get worried for my safety. If I can't move, there's no getting me out. There's no, oh, I'm just going to go down the side here to a side road and exit. There was no way out. And I was dehydrated. I hadn't been eating that well. So I could feel my body kind of like giving me those warning signs of like, hey, you need to get to safety. And I was worried for my wife, for my kids. And this is when I was like, okay, I can't go on this is not safe. I can't go on any longer. I need to I need to quit at that next aid station. And I wish I could put into words how long that 4 miles felt. It was probably at least 2 hours, maybe longer than 2 hours in terms of an actual time on a clock. But mentally, it's kind of hard for me to think about. It was such an excruciating section of trail that it's still affecting me to this day. And I'm happy I experienced it. I'll talk about that in a second. But I pushed on for these 4 miles. I got to the aid station and took my shoes off, took my socks off, and said, I'm done. Get me the hell out of here. And they said, no, you're not, buddy. They said that they still had 5 or 6 hours till they even packed up the aid station. That's when they started packing up. It would probably be 7 or 8 hours before they actually got me out somewhere. And additionally, the cars they had were all full. There was one car that had a seat in it, but he was going in the opposite direction to go grab some course sweepers, I believe it was. And they're like, we can't take you to the start. Like, sorry. And I started freaking out a little bit. I started tearing up. I was like, this is not safe for me. Like, I'm not well. I can't go on a step longer. Like, I can't move. And Carmen was there. She said, hey, my husband's here. He can meet you at the next aid station. He can even meet you at this one if there's a way for him to get up to that aid station. And all the volunteers were like, no, it's like an hour drive minimum. It's this really rocky, tough trail that you really can't get up. There's no way he can make it up here. And they said, your best bet is to go 8 miles the other direction or 5.5 on forward. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And they said, give it 20 minutes, get your shoes on, and then talk to us. And so I gave it about 15 minutes, begrudgingly, I got my socks, my shoes on. I was pissed off. I was seriously pissed off. Not at them, more at the situation. I will never get mad at an aid station volunteer, no matter what they say or do. And these aid station volunteers, they weren't saying anything malicious. They were telling me how it was. And so I'm hoping that they didn't think that I was upset with them. I was more upset with the situation. And I don't think I did anything to show that I was upset at anything. I think I was more just looked really sad. So I don't think I gave off an impression of being angry, but just if they're watching this and you were watching me and you're like, damn, that guy's doing rough, just know that was me internally doing rough. And I hope you didn't think that I was mad at anybody that was there. Like I said, I don't think I did anything that would portray me as mad at anybody there, but that's just my little disclaimer. I like to be very polite to the aid station volunteers because they're, like I said, they make these races. So anyway, now that whole rant is over, I get my shoes on, get my socks on, and I begrudgingly keep moving. As I'm going to the trail, I'm limping a little bit of an exaggeration, just to drive the point home that I'm not feeling good. And I get on the trail, I call my wife, and I say, I don't know if I can make this. And she goes, well, what happens if you can't make it to the next aid station? And I'm like, well, there's no not making it. Like, I'm in the middle of a trail. They can't airlift me out. And she's like, starts freaking out. And then I realize, okay, I'm kind of freaking her out. That's not my job. And I told her, I'm like, listen, I can do this. I just needed to vent. I needed to bitch and complain for a second, but I'll be okay, I think. And so as I'm talking to her on the phone, I'm kind of power walking, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually not feeling too bad. Like, my legs have stopped, my quads, they still hurt, but they're not giving me that knife in the quads feeling. And I hang up and I'm like, oh man, I'm actually kind of happy those aid station volunteers kind of pushed me on and kept going, because I was at a point where I thought I could not move an inch more. I didn't think it was possible I could spend another 10th of a mile on the trail. And here I am doing a power walk, tiny little jog. Oh, that kind of hurts. Okay, power walk again. And I'm starting to do, 20-minute miles again, which isn't that impressive, but for how I felt at the moment, that was enough to finish the race. And for about 2 miles, I was back. I'm gonna finish this damn thing. This is awesome. Like, it's gonna take me 48 hours. I'm gonna be chasing cutoffs, but I'm gonna finish. And right at those 2 miles, bam! Oh! I wasn't pushing too hard. I didn't do anything specific, but that pain just came back. And I spent the next 3 miles to that next aid station, and as much pain as I was getting to the previous aid station, the terrain was a lot less treacherous. I was now off Duncan. This was the easy part of the course. So it wasn't like quite as miserable as I was previously, but it was still pretty freaking tough. And I get to that next aid station and I realize I don't have it. I'm going to have to spend 30 to 45 minutes at each aid station, rubbing my legs, resting, hoping that I recover, and then push on. That was probably all that I could do to finish that race, was to spend 30, 45, an hour at each aid station, unlocking my quads, recouping, and I don't know if I could have finished at that pace. I always think about things in terms of this is kind of morbid, but when I'm feeling really tough during a race, or when I have goals that I want to hit and I'm not sure if I can hit them, I think to myself, what if someone had your kids and said, we're going to harm your children unless you can achieve this goal or finish this race? Almost every time I've asked myself that question, the answer was, God damn it, yeah, I can do it. It's always like, I'm just kind of mentally weak right now. Physically, I can do it. This was the first time where I posed that question to myself, and I said, I'm not sure. If my family's life was at danger, could I finish that race? Maybe. Like I said, I've always answered that question, yes, I can finish this. This was the first time where I wasn't sure. And I dropped out because I was pretty sure I couldn't finish, and if I did finish, I would have hurt myself. I do talk about my quads hurting. I was afraid that I was going to tear a muscle, I was going to shred my knee, or worst of all, actually not worst of all, probably even with all those, as I was going downhill, I would use my trekking poles. I would put 100% of my weight on those trekking poles, sometimes one at a time as I'm catching myself. And the whole time on Duncan Ridge, when I hit downhill sections, it's rocky, it's technical, there's drop-offs. And like I said, I got past the hardest part of the course, but there were still some sections where you could fall down and seriously hurt yourself. So I was posing a risk of a trekking pole snapping or slipping and just going head first. And there wasn't any catching myself. There was no catching myself. I could have had a head injury. I could have been seriously hurt out there. And so I'm not disappointed I made a decision to call it, because it was right for my safety. I was afraid for my safety. I was thinking about getting home to my wife and kids, all in one piece, alive. And yeah, I just didn't have it in me to go on. Physically, didn't have it in me. Mentally, I think I had it in me if I would have been more physically there. And that's where my race ended. I got a ride back with Soren, Carmen's husband. I went back to my hotel. I ordered $50 worth of barbecue food, which I picked up, and I ate a good amount of that. I ate a lot of it. And I woke up, took a nap, woke up. It was like 10 p.m. and I realized that I would still be on that course. And I was happy I quit. Usually, any other time that I've dropped out of a race, which has not been very often, I'm devastated. I think, like, I should still be out there. What am I thinking? I should still be out there. And I was sitting in my hotel room like, I made the right call. And then I'm like, well, let's see how I feel tomorrow morning. So I woke up tomorrow morning, realized that it was probably like 7 a.m. I was probably not going to finish that race if I would have kept going on till probably 8, 9, 10, 11 a.m. And so it's 7 a.m. and I'm like, I would still have a few hours of this course left. I am so happy I dropped out. And it was so weird being so okay with not finishing. Of course, as the day went on, I went back into the start to pick up my drop bags, talk to some of the finishers. You could tell some people, I feel like they thought I was a little bitch, but I didn't, whatever. And I was feeling a little bit of sadness, a little bit of disappointment, but I made the right call. It's still a week later, I made the right call. And it's tough to know that I came into that race so ill-prepared and I did such a bad job and be so okay with it. But I need hits to my ego. I need lessons. Every time you fail, you learn. I learn more lessons from failing than I do from achieving my goals. When I achieve my goals, it usually means that everything went to plan. When things don't go to plan, that means that there are unknown factors or known factors that I messed up on that teach me for the next race. And every DNF, I get like motivated and fired up. And the next races I do, I kick some serious ass. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my single Cruel Jewel buckle up there. I was really hoping this video would have 2 Cruel Jewel buckles, but I'm gonna come back strong as ever, and I'm gonna kick some serious ass. And something I'm gonna talk about in a moment when I go over my excuses is my mentality and my training leading into Cruel Jewel. And let's just fuck it, let's just do that section right now. My biggest excuse for not finishing the Cruel Jewel was my prep time for the last 6 weeks leading up to it. I blame this entirely on finishing a Lollipop 240. You probably know this by now because I keep mentioning it, but that was a 243-mile race I did 6 weeks ago. There's no reason I shouldn't have been able to recover in 6 weeks for this race. I made so many mistakes over the last 6 weeks. I did no strength training, no yoga, no recovery. I begrudgingly put in my runs, tried to get as many miles as I could, which turned out not to be that many. And I showed up on race day with 2 weeks prior, very low miles, eating horribly. The weekend before I went out to, we went to Clearwater Beach with my wife and our kids and some friends. And I was drinking, eating, gained like 3-4 pounds in a weekend. So I didn't do what I needed to do for this race. And it wasn't for a lack of physical fitness. It was all mental. When I would go on my runs, I would hit 8 miles, 9 miles, and my quads would hurt. Wow, what do you know? The part of the body that was giving me trouble in the 6 weeks leading up to training came back and bit me in the ass at mile 60. And there was so much I could have done in the previous 6 weeks to make sure that my body was right. And taking a step back, it wasn't the training or the recovery specifically, it was the mentality. I spent the last 6 weeks not having that drive, not having that excitement. I'm usually so fired up about going for runs, about working out, about bettering myself. And I have not had that motivation over the last 6 weeks. After Lollipop, I just have not been able to mentally get excited about anything. Work, family, running. I've been kind of in the doldrums, and I'm considering seeking some therapy just to talk it out. And I said something at the end of Lollipop 240 in my hotel room that I'm gonna play right now. So that's where I'm at now. I wish I had some message of, oh man, I feel so inspired and motivated, and what's the next challenge? But right now, I want to feel better, and I want to be there for my family. I just want to feel better. I just want to feel good. And that's something that I not only felt right after that race, but took into the last 6 weeks. I've just wanted to feel good. And I haven't felt that way. And now, 1 week removed from Cruel Jewel, I'm feeling that spark again. I'm feeling that motivation. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, I can, in 9 weeks to my next race, I can do a transformation. I can focus on recovery. I can come back and do something amazing. And that's what I want to do. This is a kickoff into the redefined me, the better diet, the better training, more motivated about life, about work, family, everything. Just, you've seen this in my videos. I haven't posted a lot of videos recently. They've been one every week or two, but I just haven't been motivated about doing anything. And now I'm hoping that changes. I'm really expecting that to change because I'm starting to feel that spark again. The second factor was the generic, I didn't eat or drink enough, especially not drinking enough water or not getting enough calories in. I was feeling nauseous, sick. I'd take a sip and I would feel like throwing up, and I just didn't eat or drink. What I should have done was I should have spent an extra 5 minutes at the aid station and guzzled water down. And I kept telling myself, get to the next aid station, guzzle water down. When you're sitting and when you're eating and drinking, you have more blood and oxygen in your stomach to go and help digest, instead of when you're out, running and it goes to your skin and your muscles to try to cool you down. So when you're sitting there, you get less nauseous. And each aid station, I was like, stop, drink something. 5 minutes ain't gonna mean shit when you're looking at 48 hours. So what do you care about 5 minutes? And I would get everything, look at the water and go, I'm just gonna drink on the go. And I would go and I would not drink on the go. So instead of taking small sips every 1/10 of a mile, every 1/4 mile, I would stop every mile or two, try to guzzle water down, and then feel sick to my stomach. Why wasn't I taking more small sips? Sure, it would have made me feel like minorly nauseous each time, but that's way better than guzzling water and then having to vomit it out 5 minutes later. I didn't follow the plan. I wasn't looking after myself. And that's something that you should do, is if you're not feeling good, if you're feeling nauseous, small sips frequently, once a minute, once every 5 minutes, slowly siphon that water off. And then when you get to a spot where you can stop and rest for a while, sure, try to guzzle some water down if you can. Don't just guzzle it down, like shove it down your throat, but take bigger sips, take bigger gulps. That way you can rest, get the hydration, you know, be able to not get nauseous because you have all that oxygen in your stomach. And I did not do that. Additionally, with eating, I don't think eating was quite as bad because at each aid station, I would just like devour food. It's not great in these races to have a whole like bunch of food at once, but it's better than not eating at all. And overnight, I was eating like cups after cups of ramen noodles. That was kind of helping with the hydration, with the salt intake. The noodles were good carbs. And so at night, at each aid station, I would stop and eat as much as I could and then press on. But I really should have tried to take more out on the course and tried to, like I said, with those small sips of water, also have small bites of food, even if it's like a tiny nibble. A tiny nibble is better than nothing. And I was just so worried about getting sick that I made myself physically depleted. And I'd much rather risk vomiting once every couple hours and get that food in me than not vomit for a few hours, but then at the same time have that same negative effect of not getting any calories or hydration inside. The next mistake I made was carrying the wrong gear and carrying too much gear. I thought it was going to be a cold race, so I pulled out my Nathan vest. This Nathan vest holds a lot, very sturdy, gets hot as shit. I hate this vest just for the reason that this is such a hot vest. It traps in so much heat. I should have used my Solomon vest. That vest is much more breathable. It carries a bit less, but honestly, I shouldn't be carrying that much. But yeah, this vest was so hot. My whole back was sweating, even in the cold parts. So horrible mistake. Shouldn't have done it. Another mistake I did was I carried, you'll see it in all the videos, you probably think I look like a total idiot, but this gigantic fanny pack, look how hot this thing is. When it was on my front, my fupa, my front waist would be sweating. When I turn it to the back, well, now you have the pack on the back and the lower back just trapping this heat. And what I had in this dumbass thing was I had my camera, my selfie stick sometimes was tucked into the vest. I had battery packs to charge all my bullshit, and then also had my phone. I carried just a lot of nonsense for the sake of wanting to film the race. I wanted to film the race. I never wanted to run out of battery. I could have not carried this thing for most of the time because I had enough battery for the camera. My phone was fine, so way overpacked on electronics for the sake of capturing the course. And that was on me. That was the risk I was willing to take to try to capture this course. And I'm not too pissed about it because I got the whole course. It's an out and back. So with 70 miles, I was able to capture pretty much almost all of the course during the daylight hours and some nighttime hours at the aid stations. So I got some pretty awesome footage out of it. But I will tell you that if and when I do this race next year, I'm gonna talk about that at the very end, but I'm probably not gonna film it. I'm gonna pack very light. I'm gonna try to go for a pretty crazy time. But that was a definite handicap I put on myself, was having so much bullshit just hauling it around. And there was probably an extra pound or two of gear that I was hauling around, maybe a little bit less. But over the 16 or 18,000 miles I did, an extra pound of stuff that, no wonder my quads hurt. I set myself up for failure leading into the race, and then during the race, I just kind of added a handicap that I shouldn't have. But hey, I'm not mad about it because I got some pretty cool footage, and I went out and didn't achieve the results I wanted, but I got the footage I wanted. Which that's something that, like I said at the beginning of the video, capturing these races, it means a lot to me to bring it to you guys. And win, lose, or draw, DNF or not, I'm really hoping that the video that I captured on this course it kind of motivates you to go out and do this race, do some trail running, because that was my whole purpose of getting it. It wasn't to get likes or views. It's to really highlight this course, highlight the aid stations, highlight the volunteers, and show you why it's such an awesome race. I had someone come up to me and say, yeah, I watched your Cruel Jewel video, and it was okay. But then I watched your Georgia Death Race video and I really wanted to do that one. And they said, that's the difference. I saw one video and really wanted to go out and run it. I saw another one and said, I don't really want to do this. And I felt like the races are quite similar. And I realized that looking back on it, that video, a lot of people told me they liked it at the race. They used it as training, as kind of a reconnaissance. But honestly, I didn't like that video very much. So I wanted to really go back and capture this course, like how I experienced it. And I really think with the footage I captured that I've been showing this whole video, if I edited it well, I really hope it captures why the course, why the race in general, why the volunteers are so awesome, and makes you want to go out and take on this incredibly tough fucking challenge. So what did I learn from all this? The main thing I learned was that no matter how bad I want something, I can't go out and force it without putting in the necessary work prior and during. I thought, I've done this 2 years ago. This is going to be tough as hell. I knew it was going to be tough leading into it. I posted a video about how tough I knew it was going to be. But I figured that with enough stubbornness, with enough grit and tenacity, I can do it. I can do anything. The DNFs I've had so far, I believe, are mostly mental. The failures that I've had were mostly mental. And this is the first race where I came in here and something physical really shut me down. I've had hurt ankles, I've had hurt knees. During Forgotten Florida, my knee was like all sorts messed up and I was still able to hobble toward the finish line. I knew I could do it. This was the first race where physically I could not go on any longer. Those quads would not allow me safely to proceed on this course. And that's a good humbling lesson to learn. That's a good, what the hell was that? That's a great humbling lesson to learn, because you need to experience pain like that to know what true pain actually feels like. It was, I hope I explained it well, but it was the most pain I've ever been in my life. It was the most afraid that I've been for my own safety ever. And that's so cool. That's why I do this. That's why I do this stuff. That's probably why I'm not like super beat up right now, is that I went out there and I faced a new level of pain I've never experienced. Like this is exciting. This is awesome. Like, damn, I got my ass kicked. So now I know how that feels. Now I know how mentally it feels, which leads me to the second point, which is that I learned that I can go further than I ever thought possible. I always harp on your mind is your main limiter. And at mile 66 aid station or whatever the hell it was, that is when I thought I was physically done. There was nothing more I could do. I could not go on. And I still went 5.5 more miles. And I could have gone further, chasing cutoffs, of course, but I thought I was absolutely done. And all it took was someone to say, no, like, keep going on. And fuck it. I guess I'll keep going on. And that was pretty wild. That was pretty wild, going from what I thought was the hardest, most pain I've ever been in to a period of time where I thought I could still finish it until that pain kind of hit. And even then it wasn't as bad as the pain I felt previously. So no matter what kind of pain you're feeling, you may be able to keep pushing on. I'm not going to say you absolutely can push on or you should push on or risk your health, but if you really want something and you're that close, see if you can push on. You have someone there to say no. Push yourself. And that's something that's another, lesson that I'm going to take into the rest of my entire life, is to know that at my physical worst, I could still move. And the last thing that I learned, I touched on it previously, is that you need to focus on yourself prior to a race, during a race. I spent the 6 weeks leading up to this race not motivated, not myself, and I should have stopped and I should have done something about it. I should have gone and talked to a therapist. I should have talked to my wife more. I should have talked to somebody about it more. I should have gone over my feelings. This would have allowed me to more focus on myself, on getting myself ready. I would have put more priority into recovery, more priority into getting good training, maybe skip the running days if my quads were hurting and do some sort of other cross training. And instead of just each day just going through the motions, like, okay, this is what I do. This is what I'm expected to do. I can't I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this because this is what is expected of me. And I never want to do this hobby. I never want to make these videos because it's something that's expected from me. I want to do it because it's spontaneous. It's fun. So I want to make them. And this is the first video in a long time that I've sat down and I was really excited to make. I've been excited about my previous videos, filming them, talking about them, but I just haven't had that same gusto as I feel during this video, that same energy that I want to just get up and go start training for that next race. So that's something I'm going to work on for the next few weeks, is making sure that I'm mentally in a good place. I'm focusing on myself. I'm making the videos I want to make. I'm doing the training I want to do. And I'm being the person that I want to be, because for the last couple weeks, I have not been the person that I have wanted to be. And that's something that's really hard to sit down and live with myself with, is knowing that I could be a better person, I could be happier, but I'm just not taking those steps to be happier. So that's where I am. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm trying to be, is to be really proud of who I am, to be a person who is a role model for my kids, who has a spouse that's excited to see me, that has coworkers that look up to me. I want to be the best person that I can be, and I have not, over the last few weeks, been taking steps to be that person. I've just been kind of coasting and checking the boxes, and I want to be that guy that's full of fire, that's excited, that's fired up, and that's what I'm trying to be. So that's a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I enjoyed making this. Toward the end, I'm starting to feel actually a little emotional just talking about being a better person. But I want to leave you with the sentiment that I would much rather take on the cruel jewel at my very worst than call it off and not run it and wonder what could have been. And 71 miles on Cruel Jewel, that ain't too damn bad. I got over the hardest part of the course, the middle section, that double Coosa, that double Duncan Ridge, and I quit on the easier part of the course. And that really means a lot to me, and I think that's why I'm in such a good mood, is knowing that I didn't drop out because I had this huge, difficult task ahead of me. I dropped out because I really thought it was the right thing for me to do. So I'm very happy. I'm very motivated to make changes, to be a better person, to be a better runner, to be a better everything. And I'm really, really happy you guys stuck with me and watched this. If you're still sticking with me and watching this. So let's all go out there. Let's do something amazing. I really hope you like the footage I captured. I'm going to keep making videos, keep bringing you this stuff because I love doing it. And I really hope that I can inspire you guys. I can help you guys do something incredible. So thank you all very much. You guys, you mean so much to me.